Hey guys, so I get a lot of questions asking how you can manage having a social life and doing well in school, and it's definitely possible. And I just have a few tips and a few things to keep in mind when you're in school. So when you're a commuter, it's going to be a little easier to do well in school and stay focused because you're not going to be going back to a dorm room or a dorm hall or like your building where everyone's just going to be hanging out, and there's going to seem like there's a lot of exciting things to do and a lot of things you'd rather do than study. You know, people ask you if they want to go at lunch or if you want to go to the gym or if you want to get ready to go out. Like, there's going to be a lot of things that are more interesting than studying, but you have to be kind of your own, I guess almost parent, like your own person telling you to be like, no, like if you have to study, like only you can tell yourself that you have to study. No one else can force you. No one else can say, sit down and study. Like, you're not going to have that if you're dorming. So it's definitely the first thing you have to keep in mind is you have to want to study. If you don't want to study and you don't want to do well, then that's your own fault. Your teachers aren't going to be down your back saying you have to study, you have to read, you have to do this. They're not going to say, oh, maybe some teachers will be like, oh, you didn't do so well on your last test, so you have to work harder this time. Because a lot of the times your classes are going to be huge lecture halls. Maybe if you go to a smaller university, you'll have around 20 students, but I know if you go to a larger university with 20,000 kids, your classes are going to be upwards of 100 or 200 students, maybe even more. So your teacher doesn't even know your name in that setup. So no one is going to tell you, you know what, you shouldn't go out tonight, you should study. Your own motivator to study and sit down. So that was just kind of the first thing I wanted to cover, that no one's going to tell you to study. You have to study because you want to study. And if you're a commuter, you're going back to your own house, it is going to be a little easier to study. I mean, yeah, my house can be kind of exciting sometimes, but at the same time, you know, I can just go in my bedroom, I can close the door, and I can do work if I have to, or I can go to the local library, or I can stay on campus a little bit longer and just sit down, read, do my homework, and study. And studying in between classes is another really good thing. I know even when I dormed in between classes, you could either go back to your room and nap for an hour, or you could just open your book and read up on the homework that was just discussed, or go over your notes a little, because the best bet is to do a little bit at a time. If you just try and study the night before, I mean, some people work that way, but you know what, just do a little bit at a time. Will be a lot easier that way. Making friends in your class is really going to help with you, because while you can't have people force you to study, if you decide like, hey, let's all meet and study, you cannot show up. Like, you have to come with something. You have to either have notes or have questions to ask each other. Like, you have to have something. Like, you can't just be like, oh, let's all study, because I think that's kind of embarrassing. Like, if you're going to have a study group, you're going to have to bring something to the study group, something to offer, some questions to ask, some stuff to go over. Like, you can't just go there and be like, oh, well, what did you learn? I'm just going to try and learn from what you did. Like, you have to read the book yourself. So study groups can kind of force you to study a little bit on your own so you can get ready for the study group, and then when you sit down, you can still discuss, ask questions. And it's really easy to make friends in your class. People love having study groups. I know I always had them, even as a commuter. Like, I would get together with my friends in the class and we would go over assignments and we would like discuss things. And getting each other's cell phone numbers is also a really good idea. So if you have questions, like let's say you can't meet to study, you can either send them a text message, or if you have email addresses, you can just send emails back and forth. I know that I had a friend in my geology class, and it was amazing because we had each other's email, and sometimes we would meet before class to go over our labs and to check them over, because both of us were pretty overwhelmed in the class. It was a little bit more challenging, so it was nice to have that one person to talk to and check things over. And even if some of your classes are larger with hundreds of students, don't be afraid to go to your teacher's office hours, or a lot of the times when you have a big lecture like that, you will have a teacher's assistant. So definitely either try and talk to your teacher or the teacher's assistant if you have questions. Don't be afraid to ask, even though it is a huge class. Like, maybe your teacher won't know exactly who you are, but they will be able to answer questions that you may have. If you have a roommate that's not into studying and they always have the TV on or the music going, and that's just not a quiet environment that you can study in, definitely go to a more quiet place that you can be focused, because don't feel like you have to stay in your room. Like, me and my roommate both studied at the same time. It was perfect. Like, we were able to get our work done together. But if you don't have that situation, don't be afraid to just leave the room when you need to study. I know plenty of dorm buildings have, what are they called, like lounge areas. I had one of those on my floor actually, so that was great. You could just go in there and do your work. That's what it was meant for. It was always kids just studying and doing stuff in there. I mean, I remember actually a lot of people in the hall that had classes together, they would all just go there and they would do their work together, and it was really convenient. Or you can just go to the library. Libraries actually have, I know at my school you had like the main floor, and then in the basement or the third floor, I'm not really sure because I never actually went to it, but I know that there was a completely silent floor that you couldn't talk, you couldn't make any noise. That's perfect if you just need to sit down and get your work done. The whole thing about studying is I think having cute supplies will definitely help. I have these really awesome highlighters. They're like peacock feathers, zebra print, and cheetah print. This was from Walmart. So I think this is really cool. I mean, if you have cute school supplies, I think you'll be a little more motivated. I also love these, I guess, index card rings and index cards. So they're really awesome. So you can just flip through this. And this is awesome because it's such an on-the-go perfect thing. So you can just have this in your bag. So let's say you're waiting online somewhere, whether it's the dining hall or you just have 5 minutes to kill here or there. Just whip this out and start flipping through it and like checking it out and reading your notes. It'll be perfect. And I also think color coding your school supplies is a great idea. And why not use colored pencils? I know a lot of people have colored pens, but I like to use colored pencils. So I have these Juicy Couture ones, and then I also have the ones that I made myself and I did the giveaway for. So I have those all in here. Oh, and I'm also having a big contest for my 2 years on YouTube. I'll link that video right here. Sorry, a little off topic, but my pencil giveaway reminded me of that contest, which will be linked there if you haven't entered already. It's actually almost over, but you still have a little bit of time. So I guess that was all I really wanted to say about staying organized and studying and just giving you some little tips. But now I guess I should talk about what people really wanted to hear, which is managing a social life and being able to do well in school. And honestly, I know plenty of people that weren't able to do that. I know first semester, plenty of kids that were not able to come back because they went out every single night and they never went to class. So the number one thing is to go to class. I didn't mention that before, but like seriously, just go to your class. Like honestly, like just go. Like even if you're so tired, even if you went out the night before, just go to your class. Like it's the best thing I can ever say. Like not showing up is so much worse. Like at least let's say you didn't do so well or you had a little bit of trouble, you can say, well, I went to every single class and talk to your teachers. Like, even though I said you have the big halls, the big lecture halls with a lot of students, but if you just say like, oh, I spoke to you those few times, you exchanged emails with your professor, it will show that you put an effort in, even if it was the hardest class ever and you don't think you're gonna do well. If you showed an effort by going to class, and especially in the smaller classes with like 20 students, your teacher's gonna notice if you weren't there. In a lecture hall of 400 students, your teacher's not gonna notice, and most of the time those aren't mandatory, but still just go. Just as boring as it is, just get out of bed and go to that class. That's really the best piece of advice. Sorry, now back to managing going out. Definitely maybe try and set up some sort of reward system for yourself. So you say, okay, if you read this one chapter for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and you kind of read every single night and you do your work, let yourself be rewarded by being able to go out Friday night and Saturday night because you don't have work to do. If you really try and put it off and you push it and you're like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, I'll just do it tomorrow. Next thing you know, it will be Friday and you'll be like, you got nothing done. And you're gonna be like, I really wanna go out, everyone's going out. And you don't wanna stay at home if everyone's going out, and that's really what you wanna do. But definitely keep in mind, school is your #1 priority. That's why you're in college, to get an education. Yes, making friends and the whole social aspect is very important, but you need to maintain a certain GPA. I know, like I said, I know plenty of kids that did not come back first semester because they never went to class. I know a kid that got like a 0.2. Like, I didn't even think that was possible for your GPA, but that's what happens if you just don't make school a priority. So try some sort of reward system. If you say you'll study, you'll be able to go out on the weekends. And you can even make studying a bit of a social time. Like I said, if you go have a study group, because then you can study for a little bit and then just hang out and talk with your friends and then get back to studying. So not all things have to be going out at night on the weekends. It kind of could still be just being able to watch TV with your friends. Like maybe, I know what I did was me and my friends would all go into one person's dorm room, we would all have our homework out, and we would be doing work, but we'd still all be there to socialize with one another. And I'm personally able to study like that. I know some people are not. If you need to sit quietly in a room, then you know what? Go to that library on the top floor or the basement, wherever it is in your campus, and just sit up there in the silent room in the library and just study. And then once you're done and once you get everything done, you can go out and hang out with your friends. And maybe even try making a checklist of what you want to do so you can have your rewards. At the end of the week, you get to go out, and each day you can have a little checklist of what you want to get done. But once again, all these tips are not going to work if you cannot force yourself to study. Sometimes you just need to sit down, open up the book, and stay focused. Like you just need to be like, you know what, I need to get this done now. And if you don't have that sort of self-control, then I really don't know what to tell you. No advice video is going to really help you if you don't have self-control to sit down, open the book, and do your homework. So, but I hope the tips I did have were helpful to some people, and I'm sorry if this video was kind of all over the place. I did have a lot I wanted to talk about, but it kind of all tied in. I just hope you were able to follow it, and this video is not super long because there's no little time thing on my screen telling me how long I was talking for. But yeah, that was really all I wanted to say, and I hope you guys enjoyed this.